At the edge of the map is a place few travellers ever reach, a land where icebergs drift like mountains and the ocean feels alive. I came here to see what life's really like beyond the Arctic Circle. No script, no plan, just discovery. From stormy seas to tiny villages and glaciers that seem to breathe. This is Greenland, the edge of everything. So let's go. So if I said to you the name Ilulissat, could you pinpoint it on a map? Probably not. It's on the west coast of central Greenland. It is known as the Iceberg Capital of the world. It's thought that the iceberg that sank the Titanic came from Disco Bay, which is here just behind me. It was founded in the 1700s by a guy called Jacob Severin as a Danish trading post, and it was the site of a famous Danish battle with the Dutch military to take control of Greenland in the 18th century, called the Battle of Jakobshavn or Jakobshavn, which is the Danish name for Ilulissat. Ilulissat being a Greenlandic word. It is, well, I'll show you. It is surrounded by icebergs. And just to think this could be the site of where the iceberg that sank the Titanic started its life. Ilulissat must be one of the only places in the world where you can just walk to the shore and pick up an iceberg. This is literally just washed up on shore and it's dripping by my hand and it's freezing, but I have an iceberg in my hand. And it's supposed to be quite pure as well. Actually tastes quite nice, as far as an iceberg can. But let's go and explore the town of Jakobshavn or Ilulissat in this video and see whether this town is worth visiting. There is a couple of hiking routes, red, yellow and blue coloured hiking routes that start just outside of town. I'll be showing you all of those routes on a couple of videos coming up, but until then, let's go and start off at Zion's Church. You might just be able to make out the spire with the sun behind. That was once the biggest man-made structure in the whole of Greenland for quite a number of years, until around the 1900s. That was the biggest building. So let's go and see if we can get inside and see what Church of Greenland church is like. So there's a service happening in the church, and I don't want to disturb it with a camera, so we might come back later. But that is Science Church. Once the biggest building in the whole of Greenland, and it isn't that big. So Ilulissat is built on the top of a hill, really steep cliffs. There are no pavements. There are kind of rough dirt areas at the side of the roads, but they're definitely not level and really difficult to walk on. So to get around between the settlements, they've built these wooden walkways, but you've got some protection on this side and a really steep drop on that side. And you can see how they just wind all along. But you're never far away from Disco Bay and all of the icebergs that float around Disco Bay. So let's have a walk up this staircase. I don't know where anything is in Ilulissat. I'm not going to pretend I'm a tour guide. So it's going to be an exploration of this city. But this should take us to the highest point within the centre of the city. I'm calling it a city. It doesn't technically have city status. It doesn't have a cathedral. Science Church is over there, that black thing. The population's just over 5,000. It's the third biggest settlement in Greenland, after Nuuk, the capital, where we'll be exploring on a different video, and Sisimiut, the second biggest. So it's just about -7 Celsius now, really icy, but it's not bitterly cold. It's definitely cold, I can't feel my hands. But it's not bitterly cold like you get in some parts of Europe. It's bearably cold. So I don't know where this is taking us. Maybe nowhere. You'll see these pipes running around all of the town as well. Some of them carry sewage. Some of them carry fresh water. Some of them are for heating as well. I haven't got a clue where I am now. So this is one of the local settlements in Ilulissat, just outside of the town centre. I'm assuming this is a walkway. So when I said there are no pavements, I meant there are no pavements. This is literally how you get around. You find a well-trodden path through some grass and you just walk. So around here there are a couple of Airbnb type places where you can rent out a cabin overlooking Disco Bay. A lot of these buildings don't have running water. A lot of them don't have electricity unless they've got a solar panel. So it is really back to basics. So you never quite know whether you're walking through somebody's back garden or a public walkway. As I said, everywhere you go is dominated by Disco Bay and the icebergs. Did you know a baby iceberg is called a growler? It definitely wasn't a growler that sank the Titanic, but some of these icebergs stay here for thousands of years and then they break away and float out of Disco Bay and then towards Newfoundland in Canada, where this iceberg sank the Titanic. All started here. So this is what a pavement looks like here in Ilulissat. It's just a dirt track type thing, and then you've got the road literally right next to it. And some of these tracks just drop off. There are also bus stops, but I haven't seen any buses. There are a couple of taxis, and I mean a few. There really aren't that many. Definitely no Uber or Lyft or Bolt here. And the prices are really expensive. A 5-minute journey works out at something like £25. I don't know where I'm going here. Google Maps is intermittent. You can't get lost, he says, as he gets lost. But Ilulissat is not that big. It's quite spread out, but if you just follow the path back, you'll find your way back to one of the main roads. Ilulissat is not connected to the rest of Greenland by road, because Greenland's so treacherous and the terrain is so difficult, they can't pave roads. But there are a lot of cars here. They must cost a fortune to ship in. In the distance you can see a huge ice wall. This has got to be the only place not in the Antarctic where you can actually see so many icebergs that are so big just floating by. And it's really hard to show this on camera. The camera really does not do this place justice. There are just so many icebergs floating in Disco Bay here. So behind me there's a wooden building. A couple of people stood outside smoking. I was filming just innocently and 2 guys with guns came up to me. Turns out it is Ilulissat Penitentiary, the prison. It is literally just a wooden building. There's no fences or police cars or anything. I'm assuming they were prison officers and not just prisoners. But yeah, I'm assuming the crime rate here is really low. It'll be mainly things like alcohol and drugs related, or petty crime, because the cost of living here is really expensive. But yeah, I've just stumbled across the prison, and then here is the power plant. So this is the start of the yellow hiking trail. I've accidentally stumbled across here. I wasn't planning to go on the yellow trail today, but I might as well. I'm not going to film this bit for this video because that's going to be a separate video in itself, but I might just go for a walk, see what I find, and then I'll pick up the rest of the video in Ilulissat. For me, probably in about 2-3 hours time, but for you, around now. So Ilulissat is famous for its hiking. It attracts a lot of tourists, and that building, funny shaped building, is called the Icefjord Centre, and it talks about the Icefjord, the big ice fjord that surrounds all of Ilulissat in Disco Bay. And right next to the Icefjord Centre is the cemetery for Ilulissat. I'm just finishing the yellow trail. At least I hope I'm finishing. If you haven't seen that video, it's coming soon. It's never ending. But the cemetery is here on a hill. I think it has something to do with local traditions about burying the dead high up. I don't know, I read that somewhere, but I don't know if it's true. We'll try and then get back into town and finish off the rest of the city tour of Ilulissat once I figure out how to get down from here. I'm currently in Jurassic Park. So you can't come to Ilulissat and avoid steep hills. The whole city is literally built on steep hills. So bring some hiking shoes or something. One of the things you will definitely hear, but also see in Ilulissat, is dogs tied up all around town. So there are thought to be 3 times as many dogs in Ilulissat than people, and they're just tied up to posts around town. So there are 2 main supermarkets in Ilulissat, Brugseni and a Pacific. There's also a small spa and another local brand, but the prices are really high. If you haven't seen my video, or it might not have been released yet, about the price of shopping in Ilulissat, make sure you don't miss that one. So there are no convenience stores, corner shops here. There's just got small boutiques, but I think they're mainly aimed at tourists. There's probably 3 or 4 supermarkets, and that is pretty much it in Ilulissat. There's really not that much here. And the locals live in these apartment blocks. Apparently they were recently built and paid for by the Danish government as part of the annual money that they pay to Greenland as Danish territory. But I'm just going to pop into Akiki. That the logo of a polar bear with a shopping basket reminds me very much of Netto, if you remember that brand in Europe. Yeah, I'm just going to go in there, get a few things and then head back to the hotel for a bit. So there seems to be one bank in Ilulissat, and there was a big queue of people waiting to get cash out of the cash machine, and there's one bridge in Ilulissat that leads in and out of the main settlement, and I don't know what this guy's doing. So the harbour in central Ilulissat is really the heart of the city. You can see here there's huge tankers and ferries in the harbour, along with icebergs. Just icebergs floating in the harbour, as they do. But without this harbour, Ilulissat wouldn't exist. You can see the harbour from almost everywhere in the city, but everything comes in and out of Ilulissat through this harbour. There are no roads connecting Ilulissat to the rest of Greenland, or anywhere else in the world for that matter. So the whole of Ilulissat was actually founded because of the harbour on which the foundations of which this is built. The first settlers would have come in through a harbour. So Royal Arctic is the main shipping company in Greenland. They ply all the way up and down the west coast of Greenland. They carry everything from fresh fruit and veg, cars, furniture. I even saw a couple of hours ago a flat pack house. It was just boxes and boxes that they were putting on top of each other to build a wooden house. So literally everything comes through this harbour, and this really is the lifeline to life in Ilulissat. I find it so funny that you've got icebergs just floating right next to big cargo ships. So that is Ilulissat's oldest house, right by the harbour. Very industrial, this harbour. A couple of Danish military people walking around with big guns, so I'm not going to stick around for too long to film. So there are a handful of museums in Ilulissat. There's the Ilulissat Art Museum, which seems to be shut. There's the History Museum of Ilulissat, which seems to be shut. And there's a Culture Museum that seems to be shut. I don't know if I'm out of season or they're just shut, but they're shut. And there are lots of places scattered around the town like this. Just random abandoned sheds with staircases that lead to nothing, and sleds on top of stone mounds. Do I want to go up here? I don't think I can get up here. I want to know how the people who built this thing got up here. But that is a monument to somebody, Knud Rasmussen, I think, who was an explorer who explored the Arctic, Antarctic, and he was one of the most famous people from Ilulissat. And from here you can kind of see the whole of the central bit of Ilulissat and out to Disco Bay. And then the harbour area here, just behind us. I'm here for another 6 days. I've pretty much done everything that's open, I think, in the centre of Ilulissat, not including the hikes. They take about a day each. In a couple of hours. So if you come here, don't get your hopes up that there's a lot to do unless you like nature. And I guess one of the things I'm having to do is try and slow down. Usually I'm rushing from place to place, but because I've ended up with so much time in Ilulissat, I need to slow down and just take each minute as it comes, and I'm finding that really difficult to do. Well, let's head down and see if there's anything else that we've missed from Ilulissat. Some of these places are grim. That apartment has a whole moose skin hanging out of its window. Really steep hills. They're built right on the top of hills with these huge pipes everywhere. So these tenement blocks are paid for by the Danish government, apparently, for the poorer people of Ilulissat. They're mainly elderly people, I think, from what I can see. And then the wealthier people live on the outskirts of town in the wooden, colourful houses. And a lot of the wooden houses, you've got these trucks going around. It's a Monday morning. They seem to be emptying the sewage from outside of septic tanks, I think. The whole town just smells at the minute. of sewage, so that's what I'm assuming they're doing. They put big pipes leading to the house into a big tanker, turn it on for about 5 minutes, then there's a strong smell, then they drive off to the next one, because a lot of these wooden houses don't have main sewage. And the ones that have been more recently built, and the hotels here, have got big pipes leading out of them, which must be for the sewage. But I guess that's kind of to be expected when you live in the middle of such a remote part of a remote country with really rough terrain that you can't really drill underground pipes into. So you really don't need to walk very far to get away from, well, there aren't that many crowds, but to get away from anybody in Ilulissat. I've walked about 10 minutes out of town. I'm just around the corner from the Icefjord Centre in the middle of this Jurassic Park landscape. I haven't seen anyone for about 2 hours. So yeah, Ilulissat is the place to come if you want to escape from everything. And from the top of the cliff, this image you can see through the two bits of the cliff here is exactly what Ilulissat is like. Brightly coloured pastel houses dotted around mossy, grassy landscape, tiny islands floating around, and icebergs just waiting out at shore. So this is Ilulissat in one picture. Reminds me of St Helena or Ballymorey in Scotland. But no, this is Ilulissat, this is Greenland. It is very Scandinavian. So before I bring this video in Ilulissat to an end, I wanted to go and see what the city's like at my favourite time of the day, sunset, the golden hour here in Ilulissat. It is really quiet, deadly quiet, there's nobody else around. But I'm going to head down a really quiet residential road opposite the Hotel Suma, up on a hill overlooking the city and the bay, and I can already see the sun's just set and the sky has turned orange and red. So from a bitterly cold Ilulissat at around 9 PM, the town's going to sleep, the sun's set, the fishing boats are coming home for the night. I hope you enjoyed this video. Would you come to Ilulissat? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.